If you like games that go beyond regulation, you are going to love tonight. 4 games, they all went overtime or beyond, including another young NHL star getting his first career overtime game winner. Details coming up on this edition of Locked On NHL Game Night.
When that final horn sounds, you know it's time for Locked On NHL Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before, only on Locked On NHL Game Night. Your team every day.
Hey, hockey fans, welcome to Locked On NHL Game Night, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Your teams every day. Thanks for making Locked On NHL Game Night your place to get a recap of the night in the NHL during the regular season and the playoffs. We are available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. I'm Eddie Garcia, an LA Kings fan on the West Coast. He and Shukri writes a Boston Bruins fan on the East Coast. Together, we're here to get you caught up on all the goals, saves, big moments, and stories from the night in the NHL with a big assist from some of our Locked On local experts. And Shu, I mentioned it at the top. Every game, well, there was only 4, but every game that we had went overtime or beyond. So if you like 3-on-3 hockey, if you like the shootout, tonight was definitely your night.
I mean, it was quite the Friday night, or should I say the entire Friday afternoon, because we did have an earlier start than typically usual. But you're right, Eddie. Every game had a little extra topping. So if you like extra topping on your burgers or your nachos, today was your lucky day.
We're going to start with the game that finished last. That was out in Utah as the Mammoth were taking on the Islanders. New York pulls out a 3-2 overtime win, and it was that young star, Matthew Schaefer, the #1 overall pick, the hero in this one. Exciting finish for him, exciting finish for the Islanders. Let's get a report from the host of Locked On New York Islanders, and that is Gil Martin.
New York Islanders find a way. They win in overtime, 3-2 over the Utah Mammoth, and this was a gutsy win for the New York Islanders. They're on the 4th game of a 7-game road trip, coming off a back-to-back against a well-rested and speedy Utah Mammoth team, and yet the Islanders found a way to hang in during this game, tied it late in the 3rd period on a goal by Jonathan Drouin that was really an own goal put in by one of the Mammoth defensemen, and then Matthew Schaefer winning it in overtime. This team was tired, but they found a way to hang in there. Good goaltending by David Riddick kept them in the game, and then they scrap to tie it and win it in OT. They are 4-0 right now on this 7-game road trip. For more in-depth daily coverage of your New York Islanders, check out the Locked On Islanders podcast.
All right. Thanks to Gil Martin for that. We're going to get more into Matthew Schaefer in a minute, but as he said, on the road for back-to-back games, this team is down 2-1 going into the 3rd. They get a little bit of a break. Jonathan Drouin kicks the puck towards the goal line. If Utah lets it go in, it's not going to be a goal. But Nate Schmidt, unfortunately, gets penalized for trying to keep the puck out of his own net. He reached down and he got a piece of the puck, and then it goes in. It was originally called no goal. They overturned it on video review. That ties it, and then in overtime, Matthew Schaefer, a one-timer from a nice pass from Matthew Barzal. What a career this young man has had so far. 18 years old. He leads all rookies in points with 15, 7 goals, and 8 assists. He's the youngest player in NHL history to score an overtime game-winning goal, and it was obviously his first ever overtime game winner. Before we get into Schaefer, I guess, let's just talk about the Islanders. And I'll be honest, this was not a team in recent times that I really cared to watch much. They weren't very exciting. They played a certain style, and it wasn't the most exciting style in the world. This team is now fun to watch. They're winning, and they just seem to have a new attitude right now.
And it all starts with Patrick Roy, if you think about it, in terms of the new attitude that they have seemed to have found. I mean, I listened to Patrick Roy's post-game comments following the Islanders win the other night, and I was like, okay, this is a man that's got a new attitude. I wasn't sure about the team, but I like this new attitude that Patrick Roy brought, in which that he recited an NHL rule almost pretty much word for word. And tonight, you saw that bit of feistiness in which that I agree. This team, I didn't really have a reason to watch this team, except obviously because of what we do on our jobs. They're not exciting, they're not entertaining enough. But the thing that has actually sucked me into watching the Islanders as a whole is that they just don't give up. Because tonight they had every excuse underneath the sun to lose this game, and they were down 2-1 going into the third period. But that own goal was definitely part of it was actually the sequence that brought the Islanders back in this game, in which that, the old adage, sometimes it is better to be lucky than to be good sometimes. This was the case. This was 100% the case. And you talk about a moment in which that the Islanders took advantage of, and they were and they were fortunate to ultimately tie this game. But man, like, the Islanders, they found another gear and said, we were not going to lose this game. We're not going to give up. And they certainly like went into the well, and they were able to go into that second gear tonight.
Matthew Schaefer clearly was talented enough to be the number 1 overall pick in the draft, but he's brought something more to this team than just talent, and certainly that's a big part of it. But his story, the way he plays the game, the excitement he brings, kind of that young exuberance, I think it's rubbed off on the rest of the team a little bit. And he is just a fun player to watch. He plays with a certain level of joy, and it really comes across. And I think it's kind of infectious to the rest of the team. So he's not, look, when you have a number 1 overall pick, you expect that player to be impactful, but he brings to me something more than that. He's a type of a player that can help turn an organization around. Has that infectious spirit. I think the fans feel it. I think his teammates feel it. And ultimately, yes, he has to perform, and it's his talent that is the most important thing. But I think his attitude and just that kind of aura that he brings too is something that I think is real. And I think the Islanders are really benefiting from that right now.
And absolutely. And I think that, one of the great sayings in sports is that sometimes youthful energy and youthful exuberance can be a good thing. Because let's face it, the Islanders they had become a bit of stale. And ironically, as my phone is going off, as you can hear a little bit of Eminem in the background, no pun intended. But you talk about one of the interesting aspects in regards to what the Islanders have been able to do is capitalize on Matthew Schaefer in terms of what he has brought to the team. Not just the excellent defensive play, but as well as that fearlessness that the team has really captured, like along with the fact that offensively he's been tremendous as a rookie. I mean, Eddie, what were you doing as an 18-year-old? I mean, Matthew Schaefer.
Nothing important.
He's got us both beat in terms of in comparison to what he's doing as an 18-year-old rookie in the NHL, in comparison to what you and I were doing at 18. But listen, and I agree with you. This is the type of player that absolutely helps turn around an organization in which that, let's face it, they needed that injection. But I think Matthew Schaefer has certainly lived up to the billing and then some so far for the New York Islanders this season.
Islanders are 10-6-2 now on the year. They've won 4 in a row, and they have won their last 3 games all in overtime. And they're currently right now the number 1 wild card team in the East. Certainly, I think people were hoping they'd be improved. I think people were hoping, for certainly Islanders fans, that they would be showing some signs of life, turning things around. I don't think anyone could have predicted, though, that this team would be flirting with a playoff spot. We'll see. It's still obviously a long way to go, but right now they are the number 1 wildcard team in the East. All right, we had a shootout in St. Louis in more ways than one. Details on that next here on Locked On NHL Game Night. Most people can't name are their financial accounts or even if they're what they're worth, whether it's a 401k, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch. It is an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've been putting off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, and get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. You can maximize investments, increase your savings rate, easily review finances with your partner or financial advisor while keeping a clear view of your financial health week to week and long term. Don't let financial opportunities slip through your cracks. Use the code LOCKEDONNHL at monarch.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with the code LOCKEDONNHL. All right, we are continuing here on Locked On NHL Game Night. Our next game in St. Louis, where the Blues were taking on the Flyers. Not a lot of defense in this one. Plenty of offense, where Philadelphia wins a scorefest 6-5 in overtime, thanks to a big game from their third line. Let's get details on this one from one of the co-hosts of Locked On Philadelphia Flyers. That's Russ Cohen.
Russ Cohen here for Locked On Flyers. Flyers get a 6-5 shootout victory in St. Louis. Kind of a weird game, but big night for Owen Tippett. He had 4 points, couple goals from Dvorak, couple for Zegras, and Sam Ersson, always good in the shootout, pulls it out for the Flyers with the dads there. All the dads were watching and gritty. So a happy game for the Flyers.
Yeah, we're going to talk about gritty here in a minute, but the third line for Philadelphia was insane in this game. Owen Tippett, Trevor Zegras, Christian Dvorak combined for all 5 goals in regulation and 5 assists as well. Dvorak had 2 goals, numbers 4 and 5 on the season. Zegras got his 6th of the year, Tippett his 6th of the year, and then Trevor Zegras gets the shootout game winner, where I believe he's the greatest shootout player percentage-wise in NHL history. He's 16 for 24 in the shootout, and he could have had another goal. There was a penalty shot in overtime where he got tripped, and he actually didn't score on that one. But the third line comes to play for the Philadelphia Flyers in this one, and they get the victory in a wild game. But Trevor Zegras has certainly lived up to billing so far for Philadelphia, as he has a very, very big night. But what a night for that third line for Philadelphia.
Anybody got extra towels on standby? I mean, just as like a just in case. I mean, not just for Greedy primarily, but of course more on Greedy in just a little bit. But this game was absolutely insane for a number of reasons. Number one, Eddie, I as someone who lives in Philadelphia and watches this team on a nightly basis, one of the craziest things about this team that drives me nuts as a fan, as a hockey fan, is that this is a team that 5-on-5 at times this season, they have struggled. And at times it has been a tough watch. But on the flip side, they have been pretty darn good defensively, both in terms of the goaltending and as well as the goals that they allow like per game. So a game like tonight for the Flyers, where let's face it, it was a shootout, no pun intended, 6-5 high scoring, it's not something that you would expect. But the third line for the Flyers in this one, what really was the big story, no question about it, in which that, number one, Trevor Zegras continues to show that the trade from Anaheim to Philadelphia has really helped rejuvenate his career in more ways than one, where offensively he is having a monster season up until this point for the Philadelphia Flyers. That's number one. Number two, if anyone around Philadelphia has been posting missing Owen Tippett, please call the Philadelphia Flyers office if you find him. I don't fault you, because there have been times where I have literally wondered and questioned, where's Owen Tippett? When is he going to actually start showing up and producing offensively? Well, tonight he had a 4-point night, and it was good to see him produce. And listen, not to be forgotten on all of this, Christian Dvorak, who I think has been just as important in terms of the offense that he's brought to this team, in which that, listen, I think overall, like the Flyers, they had every reason to give up. They were down by 2 goals at one point at the beginning of the third period, and I was like, man, this just might not be the Flyers' night. But the Flyers said, we're not giving up, and certainly the Philly comeback proved to be quite fruitful in St. Louis.
Samuel Ersson, as Russ Cohn had mentioned, didn't have a great night. He allowed 5 goals on just 17 shots, but he did come up big in the shootout. And now, kind of like Trevor Zegras is great scoring in the shootout, apparently Sam Ersson is pretty good stopping the puck in the shootout. He's 11-3 in his career in the shootout. I don't know where that is percentage-wise amongst other goalies, but I got to think that's pretty good. So Philadelphia right now is also holding down a wild card spot in the East. 9-5-3 is the record. Certainly, kind of like the Islanders, you bring in a new head coach in Rick Tocchet. You've been in, starting a rebuild there finally in Philadelphia. They certainly look, and again, it's early, but they certainly look like they are ahead of schedule at this point, and we'll see if they can stay competitive and try and stay in that play. I know there's a lot of teams in the East that are in the playoff hunt at this point, but the Flyers are right in there.
And certainly, and you talk about Travis Zegras' acquisition from Anaheim to Philadelphia, as I just talked about moments ago, but not to be forgotten, Christian Dvorak, coming to Philadelphia from the Montreal Canadiens, where last season, like, he did have a 33-point campaign, but what you've seen from him is someone who I think he's been very opportunistic. He's been very much a big plus in terms of the 5-on-5 play. And oh, by the way, he is a +5 rating player this season. But I would even take it a step further and simply say that for the Flyers, one of the big reasons why they have been able to turn it around so far is the quality of goaltending they're getting on a nightly basis. Massive. And I've been consistently saying this in terms of what they've gotten from Dan Vladar and Samuel Ersson has been stellar. It's been a huge plus. But then also their commitment to the defensive side of the puck has been very evident. I mean, tonight, you can throw that out the window, but you get the point that I'm making. So as far as that is concerned, I do think that that for the Flyers, like, the thing that has been really key is not just only the goaltending, as I've been talking about, but also the offers that they've been getting from Trevor Zegras and Christian Dvorak, two of the big pieces of the Flyers offseason in terms of signings or acquisitions.
For St. Louis, they do get a point out of it, but you've got a 2-goal lead on home ice in the third period. You can't close it out. It's kind of part of the story for the Blues this year. Jordan Kyrou scored his 6th. Jimmy Snuggerud gets his 5th of the year, and Justin Falk his 4th. Dylan Holloway his 5th as well. But Jordan Binnington taking the loss. He allowed 5 goals on 30 shots. Did stop Trevor Zegras, as I mentioned, on a penalty shot in overtime, but not enough to get that extra point. Philadelphia now St. Louis now 6-8-4 on the season. All right, Mr. Philadelphia, what was Gritty doing at this game? I'm watching the game and I see Gritty celebrating, and for a second I'm like, wait a minute, this game is in St. Louis. What is the visiting mascot doing running around the arena, jumping around? What's going on there? You had any inside sources on what Gritty is doing in St. Louis?
It's a good question, and because obviously you don't typically see Gritty travel with the team, and it was kind of strange to see him, why he would be on this trip. Now, mind you, I have to also say the reason why I don't know what the exact reason is, but it is the father's trip for the Flyers, where the dads were in attendance tonight in St. Louis, and they'll be in attendance tomorrow in Dallas as the Flyers take on the Stars. But as far as why Gritty was in St. Louis, that I truly don't know, but it was strange. But hey, maybe it was a good luck charm, but what do I know?
All right. Well, next time we work together, I'm going to need your sources to give me the information on why Gritty was in St. Louis. All right.
Fair.
Coming up, we've got overtime in Raleigh and Stockholm. That's next on Locked On NHL Game Night. When I'm hydrated, everything just works better. My focus, energy, mood, even my skin. That's why I've been using DripDrop. It's doctor-developed hydration that keeps me running at full power no matter what my day looks like. DripDrop isn't your average sports drink. It delivers 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of the leading brands using a science-backed formula trusted by medical professionals, firefighters, and over 90% of top college and pro teams. It actually tastes amazing. My go-to flavor is fruit punch, and it's become my secret weapon for staying sharp and energized through long days. Hydration has become non-negotiable for me. DripDrop helps me feel sharper, calmer, and honestly, just better overall. Right now, DripDrop is offering podcast listeners 20% off your first order. Go to DripDrop.com. Use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL. That's DripDrop.com. Promo code LOCKEDONNHL for 20% off. Stock up now and keep your body and mind performing at their best with DripDrop. And hockey season is obviously officially here, and nothing beats being in the arena for early season games. But let's get real. Sometimes getting tickets can be a total headache between waiting in queues, surprise fees, and prices that jump right before checkout. It's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer on your team. That's where Gametime comes in, the app that gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NHL tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. I love that what you see is what you pay. No hidden fees at checkout. Plus, I can see exactly what the view looks like before I buy my ticket with their in-app seat view feature. Their zone deals are a game changer. You pick the section, Gametime picks your seat, and you save big. You can even find NHL tickets for under $25. Take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. All right, up next, we had the Hurricanes hosting the Canucks, and Carolina pulling out a hard-fought 4-3 overtime victory over a shorthanded Vancouver squad. Let's get a check on this one from one of our local experts, the host of Locked On Carolina Hurricanes, Zach Martin.
The Carolina Hurricanes win 4-3 in overtime thanks to a Sebastian Aho OT winner to secure the second point for the Carolina Hurricanes, completing the comeback. Down Seth Jarvis and down Jesperi Kotkaniemi. The Hurricanes had to play with 10 guys for most of the game, and they did it. And what a absolute win to get back in the win column for the Canes. They are now 12-5 on the season. Andrei Svechnikov with 2 goals. Taylor Hall with his 4th on his birthday to make it even sweeter. And now the Hurricanes take the first game of a back-to-back, and now they play Edmonton tomorrow. Can they complete the sweep of the back-to-back? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure, that's 2 points out of 4 in this 2-game back-to-back for the weekend.
All right, thanks to Zach Martin for that report. Sebastian Aho's 7th of the year, their overtime game winner, 17th career OT game-winning goal for Carolina. They did have to scratch and claw in this one. You heard the 2 goals from Andrei Svechnikov. They did lose Seth Jarvis. He took a stick up into the face, didn't return, but they get a third period goal from Taylor Hall, and then that sets up overtime for Carolina. They're now 12-5 on the season. Those 12 wins tied with Colorado and New Jersey for the most wins in the NHL. They did a lot of good things in the offseason. They bring in Nikolai Ehlers. They bring in K'Andre Miller. And they still had a good team, obviously, going into it. So Carolina's doing well. I think a lot of people expected them to do well. The question is, have they done enough to finally get over that hump in the playoffs? We're not going to know until we get to the postseason, but it has been a very nice start to the year for the Carolina Hurricanes.
And I couldn't agree more, Eddie, in the sense that as far as the Carolina Hurricanes jury and verdict is concerned, we're not going to get the final verdict until the Stanley Cup playoffs come next spring, and that's still a ways away. But as far as for right now, here we are in the middle of November. How do the Carolina Hurricanes look? They look pretty terrific. And I know that each and every year in the last few years that I think nationally people have said, oh, look, the Hurricanes look good. The Hurricanes look good. But this year, they just look like they're just playing on a different level than most right now, especially at least in the Eastern Conference, whereas like you've seen what they've been able to get from you would be able to get from Svechnikov, who had the 2 goals and assists tonight, as well as like don't forget about Shane Gostisbehere, who had three assists in this one. Sebastian Aho, absolutely massive. But you talk about Nikolai Ehlers, who was an offseason signing for the Carolina Hurricanes, who you talk about who made a critical play in this game. And you talk about making winning plays in critical times. He went to face off at the left circle and back to Gostisbehere, who passed over to Svechnikov, the one-timer from the right circle, like to score to make it 2-1 Carolina on a Svechnikov goal. Winning plays and winning moments for the Hurricanes, and that's exactly why they're on top of the East, and they're tied with the Devils and the Avalanche for the most wins in the NHL.
Canucks shorthanded in this one. They tried to gut it out. Thatcher Demko, their number one goalie, is hurt again. He's on injured reserve. Kevin Lankinen had 4 goals allowed on 38 shots, so he saw a lot of shots. And Quinn Hughes didn't play in this game. Their star defenseman got twisted up with Mark Scheifele in their last game. Took the morning skate, but apparently didn't feel 100%, so he did not play in this game. So not having Demko, not having Quinn Hughes, certainly a very shorthanded Vancouver team. They almost got it, but unfortunately, we're not able to get the victory. The first game of the day was early in the day because it was overseas in Stockholm, Sweden. It was the first of 2 Global Series games between the Penguins and the Predators. Nashville would rally late for a 2-1 overtime victory in this one. They were down 1-0 with 1:10 to go. They pull the goalie, and then Philip Forsberg scores his 8th of the year back in his native Sweden. He was clearly very excited about scoring that goal. I don't think it was just the fact that he tied it up. That was exciting enough, but doing it in his native land was clearly something special for him. And then they go to overtime, and Steven Stamkos rips one in the net. 4th of the year for him, 15th career overtime game winner for Steven Stamkos. And the Predators are able to pull out a win, something they haven't done a lot so far this season. They were coming off at being the first team to lose to the Rangers in New York this year, and then they had to fly over to Stockholm with that in their minds. So they snap a 5-game skid. So a nice goal for Philip Forsberg and a nice win for Nashville.
Very, very impressive win for the Predators. And here's what's amazing about it. You're going late into the third period. Now, mind you, Evgeny Malkin had scored the lone goal in this one so far up until that point, and you're thinking maybe, and I mean maybe, the Penguins are actually going to skate away with the victory here. Nope. All it took was a win on the face-off circle and Philip Forsberg being in the right place at the right time. And you talk about snatching away defeat, from the jaw, snatching away victory from the jaws of defeat. That was it right there for the Nashville Predators, and it was like really amazing to watch. And as I'm watching the game, I'm thinking to myself, man, that was something that the Penguins were not able to recover at all in terms of losing the lead, a 1-0 lead late in the third, and then Stamkos, for him to win it 44 seconds to be exact into OT, which was really absolutely incredible to see. And then you talked about Forsberg, being back in his home country. He is from Östervalla, Sweden to be exact, and for him to score the tying goal, I'm sure it's a seminal moment. It was a very special moment for him, considering the circumstances, and as well as for him to do it in his home country as well. So I couldn't agree more with you. But this was one heck of a win for the Predators in this one.
Artur Shilov's probably deserved a better fate in net for Pittsburgh. He had 2 goals on 30 shots, stopped at multiple breakaways in this game. Meanwhile, UC Saros only had to make 17, or he only saw 17 shots on goal. He allowed the 1 goal and is able to get the win. Nashville 6-9-4 on the season, while Pittsburgh falls to 9-5-4. Hey, if you want complete coverage of your favorite NHL team, there is a Locked On NHL Team podcast and YouTube show for you, because we have one for every team in the NHL except Calgary, but we're working on that. And there's also this show, Locked On NHL Game Night, here for you each and every night of the regular season and the playoffs, wrapping up the night in the NHL. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this show if you're watching on YouTube, and we'd love to see your comments on anything that happened in the night in the NHL. That'll do it for this episode of Locked On NHL Game Night. For True Key Writes, I'm Eddie Garcia. Thanks for listening and watching Locked On NHL Game Night, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day.